Students, let us take few more problems on moving charges and magnetism. Today we will finish them off. Okay, all the problems. So this is question number 25 as follows. It says a 100-turn closely wound circular coil of radius 10 centimeter carries a current of 3.2 ampere. The first sub question, what is the field at the center of the coil? Now, the next question, what is the magnetic moment of the coil? These are the two sub questions of the given data. Next, the question continues. The coil is placed in a vertical plane and is free to rotate about horizontal axis which coincides with its diameter. A uniform magnetic field of 2 Tesla in the horizontal direction exists such that initially the axis of the coil is in the direction of magnetic field. The coil rotates through an angle of 90 degree under the influence of the magnetic field. What are the magnitudes of torque on the coil in the initial and the final positions? So we have so many things to find here. In fact, 4 results has to be obtained. Let me go with the first one. So question number 25, part A of the question asks us to get the magnetic field at the center of the coil. Okay. So data about the coil is as follows. The coil is of 100 turns. N is equal to 100. Now this 100-turn coil is wound in a circular way, a circular coil whose radius is 10 centimeter. So radius of the coil, okay, which I can take as small r, is 10 centimeter. No, I'll directly take it as 10 to the power of minus 1 meter or 0.1 meter. Both are fine. It carries a current of 3.2 ampere. I is given. Current I is 3.2 ampere, right? And magnetic field at the center of the coil is asked to find. Like this. So if you say this is the circular coil held like this. So this is the point where we need the magnetic field, right? Radius is r. If you can remember the formula for the magnetic field on the axis, which is mu naught by 4 pi 2 pi nir divided by x square plus r square to the power of 3 by 2. Now, the point chosen is at the center of the coil itself. Since the point chosen is at the center of the coil, the expression for magnetic field can be easily directly taken as mu naught by 4 pi 2 pi I by r. So, n number of turns, so it is 2 pi ni by r. So, here are the given data, simplify them here to get the magnetic field. Mu naught by 4 pi is just a minute. Yeah, mu naught by 4 pi is 10 to the power of minus 7 into 2 pi 6.28 into number of turns is 100. Current through each turn is 3.2 ampere divided by radius of the coil is 10 to the power of minus 1. Make use of calculator, simplify this, and after simplifying this, you will get the magnetic field value at the center equal to 2 into 10 to the power of minus 3 Tesla. 2 into 10 to the power of minus 3 Tesla. So this is the magnetic field at the center of the coil due to 100 turns of current carrying wire with 3.2 ampere of current through that. Okay. So this is about first sub question A. Now moving ahead for the next sub question, we will solve 2 of them here directly. That's not a big problem. We can easily solve them. So direct formula, that's it. What is the magnetic moment of the coil, of this coil? Magnetic moment M is equal to question mark. Formula of M M is equal to NIA, right? If it is of single coil, N is equal to 1 single turn. Now we have 100 turns, so N becomes 100. We have all the data. Current is 3.2 ampere. We don't know what is the area of the coil. Instead, we should obtain the area by putting that into pi r squared. That would be pi into 10 to the power of minus 2 meter squared, right? 10 to the power of minus 1 squared. Pi into 10 to the power of minus 2 meter squared. So, it is 3.14 into 10 to the power of minus 2, right? Again, make use of calculator and get the value of magnetic dipole moment M, which is 10 ampere meter squared. Okay, 10 ampere meter squared is the magnetic dipole moment of this coil. Okay, very easy, direct formula, direct given data, nothing much to worry. Okay, now let us move ahead and see the next part of the question, part C. Okay, right. Look at the situation here. So the coil is placed in vertical plane, right? So vertical plane means like this. So it can be like this, or like this, or like this. Anyhow, okay, it can be any in any orientation, but it should be like this. Keeping the coil, say the coil is in this plane. Okay, if this is the plane of the coil, it can be in any orientation like this. It cannot be like this. This is the horizontal plane, right? The plane of the coil kept in horizontal plane is like this, but now it is vertical and it can be in any orientation but vertical. Okay, so it is kept in such a way that, say, this is the vertical plane in which the coil is kept. Okay, center. So it is placed in such a way that it is free to rotate about the horizontal axis. Okay, the axis of rotation is now somewhat like this. Okay, so this is how the coil can rotate now, like this, okay. Now, which coincides with its diameter, right? This is the diameter and this is the axis about which the coil can rotate. Right now, a uniform magnetic field of 2 Tesla in the horizontal direction, okay, exists such that initially the axis of the coil is in the direction of the magnetic field. So, initially the axis of the coil which is the axis of the coil? Axis of the coil is different, axis of rotation is different, keep that in mind. So, axis of the coil is like this. This is always the axis of the coil, okay. And we have the standard derivation saying, derive the expression for magnetic field at a point on the axis of a current carrying loop, right. So, this is the axis which passes through the center like this, and see, this is over the diameter, this axis, rotating axis, and the line, the axis is always normal to it, right. So, this angle between the axis of rotation and the axis of the coil is 90 degree, okay. I hope you are getting the idea. So, this is how the axis is, okay, and this is how it can rotate, okay. So, this is the axis of rotation, okay, this is the axis of rotation like this, and this is the axis of the coil, okay, right. Now, a uniform magnetic field of 2 Tesla in the horizontal exists in such that the initially the axis of the coil is in the direction of the magnetic field, which means this is the axis of the coil and initially the applied magnetic field is in the same direction as of the axis of the coil, like this. Following? Okay. Of the field. The coil rotates through an angle of 90 degree. So, now the external magnetic field is set, it won't change. The coil now rotates, okay. So, the final position of the coil looks somewhat like this, okay. because this is the axis of rotation and this is how it can rotate. Okay, after the complete rotation it would look somewhat like this. Okay, so after, because this is the axis and the axis won't change. Okay, so either it can rotate like this and come to this, the axis will remain the same, the axis of rotation. Okay, so this is the axis of rotation and it has turned by 90 degree, and now the magnetic field is still in this direction. Okay, so these are the two situations, right? Both of them are in 3D. Okay, you should visualize them properly. Now the question that is asked here is what are the magnitudes of torques on the coil in the initial and final positions? Look at this. What is the expression for torque? Tau is equal to m cross b, which is mb sin theta, right? We have obtained the value of m, which is 10 ampere meter squared. The external magnetic field present here is also given, 2 Tesla, right? M we ourselves has obtained, it is how much is that? 10 ampere meter square. So it's about theta which will decide the torque. Now look at this, theta is the angle between m and b. What is m? M is the angle, what is the direction of m? Okay, see, direction of m is always normal to the plane. Say if the current is flowing like this, so this axis of the coil, okay, axis of the coil, not the rotation of axis, axis of rotation, axis of the coil itself will be the direction of magnetic dipole moment, right? You all know that, right? Right hand thumb rule. And now in the first situation, direction of m and the direction of b, so this is the direction of b, external magnetic field, they are same, the directions are same, which means the angle between them is 0 degree, isn't it? So that's it. Therefore the torque becomes 2 into 10 into sine 0, 0. Okay, mb sine 0. So torque experienced is 0 Newton meter when we have this kind of arrangement where the axis of the coil and the external magnetic field are in the same direction. When I say axis, I can also get the direction of magnetic dipole moment using the same direction of the axis, right? Or even if you consider the value, the direction of m like this, magnetic dipole moment using right hand thumb rule, even then magnetic dipole moment and the magnetic field will have the same direction, and hence 0 Newton meter of torque is experienced initially. Now coming to the final situation, let me call this as I, tau I, initial torque. Okay, so coming to so this is part C of the question. The final torque experienced, look at this, magnitudes of the torques on the coil in the initial and the final positions. So this is the final position. Okay, so now direction of magnetic field is set, it is horizontal. This time the magnetic moment, magnetic dipole moment will have the direction normal to the plane always, which means like this, right? So this will be the direction of magnetic dipole moment m, upwards like this. And you can observe that magnetic dipole moment m and the external magnetic field B has got an angle of 90 degree between them, isn't it? This is the plane is like this and hence m is like this, b is like this, angle between them is 90 degree. So for the final situation, theta is 90 degree, rest of the terms follows as such. M is 10 ampere meter squared, magnetic field is 2 Tesla, sine 90, sine 90 is 1. So the final torque experienced by the conductor is 20 Newton meter. This is the final torque experienced by the conductor, right? So for the same question, if you are asked to get the work done, think over it. How are you going to get the work done? Very simple. work done for the linear motion is uh, force into displacement, right? Here it is work done for horizontal rotational motion, so it is torque uh, into angular motion, right? Yeah, obviously the torque is varying here, it is not constant. Think over it, we have already derived the expression for potential energy stored in the coil. Okay, the same way we can obtain the potential energy stored in the coil when it is rotated through 90 degree. Okay, try and get that. Okay. Okay, the next question is as follows. A moving coil galvanometer has various particulars as small n is equal to 30, V is equal to 0.25 Tesla, A is equal to 1.5 into 10 to the power of minus 3 meters squared, and K is equal to 10 to the power of minus 3 Newton meter per degree. Determine the current sensitivity of the galvanometer. So, we all know that the question is based on the moving coil galvanometer and we are asked to find the current sensitivity, right? Fine. We have the expression for the current sensitivity of the moving coil galvanometer directly. I don't need to write the given data once again, it's all given. Okay, right, just so I can directly go for the formula, which is I can take current sensitivity as current sensitivity of the moving coil galvanometer given as SI, which is equal to angular deflection by current, which is equal to NAB divided by K, right? This is the formula for the current sensitivity. Very easy, direct simplification. Yeah, it is small n, doesn't matter small n capital N, because it's not the number of turns per unit length that we are going to consider, so it's fine. So small n, number of turns is 30, area is 1.5 into 10 to the power of minus 3 into magnetic field is 0.25 Tesla divided by K is 10 to the power of minus 3 Newton per degree. Yeah, make use of calculator and simplify this. Finally, you will get 11.25 degree per ampere. Okay. So, for the same moving coil galvanometer, if you are given with the resistance of the galvanometer also, then you can get the voltage sensitivity, right? Say a normal galvanometer will have the resistance somewhere around 100 ohm and 120 ohm, somewhere like that. Consider that kind of resistance, say 100 ohm itself, and get the voltage sensitivity for the same moving coil galvanometer. Okay. Yeah. Next, the last question. This question is based on conversion of galvanometer into ammeter and voltmeter. A galvanometer of resistance 50 ohm requires a current of 2 milliampere for full scale deflection. How do you convert it into an ammeter of range 0 to 3 ampere, a voltmeter of range 0 to 5 volt? So, first of all, given data is uh, resistance of the galvanometer is 50 ohm, right? We don't represent resistance using capital R, G, right? So G is 50 ohm. Resistance of the galvanometer is represented using capital G and requires a current of 2 milliampere for full scale deflection. So this is the current for which, the galvanometer will show full scale deflection, which means the maximum current fed into the galvanometer is 2 milliampere. So that current which flows through the galvanometer is taken as Ig. So this Ig is 2 into 10 to the power of minus 3 ampere, right, for full scale deflection. Now we need to convert it. So these are the given data in general. For the first situation, we need to convert it into an ammeter of range 0 to 3 ampere, which means the maximum current that we should measure is 3 ampere, which we will consider as I. How do we convert it? We convert a given galvanometer into ammeter by connecting a shunt resistor in parallel with the given MCG, moving coil galvanometer. So that value of shunt resistance shall also be obtained. So the expression is S is equal to IgG divided by I minus Ig, right? So this is the expression for the shunt resistance which has to be connected in parallel with the given moving coil galvanometer, so that we convert that into ammeter, right? So we have all the given data here. So Ig is 2 into 10 to the power of minus 3 into resistance is 50 ohm. I is 3 ampere minus, see here subtracting 2 into 10 to the power of minus 3 from 3. See, you shouldn't keep the powers when you subtract or add two numbers. If both the numbers have the same power, then it is fine. If not, you should eliminate the power. See, 2 into 10 to the power of minus 3 can also be taken as 1, 2, 3, 0.002 ampere, right? Minus 2, minus 1. So, you should put that value here. It is 3 minus 0.002, which will be close to 3 itself. But you should keep the value as 0.002 ampere. Because if you take that 2 into 10 to the power of minus 3, you might get confused, okay? Because there is no power with 3. If you have had something like 3 into 10 to the power of 3 minus 3 with this term also, then you could have taken 10 to the power of minus 3 as common and obtained the value. But now it is the different case. This 3 does not have any power with it, but the value 2, Ig, has 10 to the power of minus 3 with it. So either remove the power or add the power to 3 also. How do you do that? You make this 3 as 3000 into 10 to the power of minus 3. Okay, that is also fine. So those are the two ways. I can go with either one. Anyhow, it's going to be close to 3 itself, and shunt resistance is going to be 3.335. Okay, keep it till third decimal, 3.335 into 10 to the power of minus 2 ohm. A very small resistance. So this is the value of shunt resistance required to convert the given galvanometer into ammeter. But this is not the final answer. The final answer should be kept in, because the question is, how do you convert it into the galvanometer into an ammeter of range 0 to 3 ampere. So we need to convert. How do we convert it? This is the resistance which has to be connected in parallel. Therefore, this is how you should keep the final answer. Therefore, the given moving coil galvanometer is converted into an ammeter of 0 to 3 ampere range by connecting a shunt resistance of 3.335 into 10 to the power of minus 2 ohm in parallel. Okay, this should be mentioned. This carries a mark. One mark will be kept for what kind of connection are you mentioning here. In parallel with it. Okay. So this is how you should keep the final answer, because they are not asking us the question in a way like what is the shunt resistance required to convert. So if that is the kind of question, then it's fine. The final answer is this. But there the question is, how do you convert it? So this is the amount of shunt resistance which has to be connected in parallel. So that makes the complete answer for part A of the question. Now we shall go for the second part to convert the given MCG into voltmeter. So now we need to convert the given galvanometer into voltmeter. We all know that a large resistance has to be connected in series with the given moving coil galvanometer to convert it into voltmeter. But we should first find what is the resistance that has to be connected in series, the large resistance. And the expression for that we have is R is equal to V by Ig minus G, right? This expression will give us the value of resistance which has to be connected in series. We have Ig and G given, and V, the range of voltmeter that we require, is also given, which is 5 volt. So R becomes equal to V is 5, Ig is 2 into 10 to the power of minus 3 minus capital G is 50. Right. So look at this, 5 by 2 is 2.5, right? 2.5 into 10 to the power of minus 3. How much is that? 2.5 into 1000. It is going to be 2500 minus 50. So the resistance is 2450 ohm. Again, this is not the complete answer or the final answer. You should keep the final answer in sentence form. How do you keep that? Therefore, the given moving coil galvanometer is converted into a voltmeter of range 5 volt by connecting a resistance of 2450 ohm in series with the given galvanometer. Okay, that makes the complete answer. You should keep the answer in sentence. Don't forget it. Okay, write it in sentence. And this finishes all the problems from the reference for moving charges and magnetism chapter. Okay, so I'll update you for further movement of syllabus. Okay, so let's see what happens, because in the CBSE syllabus, the deduction of syllabus given according to CBSE, they have removed most topics from magnetism and matter. So I was thinking to start with electromagnetic induction directly, the next chapter. Let me think over it, and I'll update you on the further sessions, what kind of topic we are going to take and continue with it. Thank you.